They couldn't get off the island, and well, they did get off the island in the long so
Well, all the dreams,
I lost him, it pissed me off. First couple, 3 seasons, we loved it.
Yeah.
And then it just became pretty clear they were gonna reconcile everything.
Yeah, they got a little weird. I still watch it.
I guess we watched it. It was only sad.
Party time to show. Wrapping the show.
And look, you may be one of those, like the Sopranos ending guys. Not me.
I didn't like it when it happened. But I get it.
You gotta know. We used to have our power went out, with what happened.
It's a new documentary they just put out this week with David Chase. 2-part thing about the making of the whole thing. It's very interesting.
Huh.
You should watch that.
I should watch it. I'm interested.
You may not like it either.
But I'm interested.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got a little over an hour each one, an hour and a half each one. It's 2 parts. It's been a long time since the show.
Yeah.
Probably no. Most irritating if people walking out. Brings good stuff to me.
He's got bring us good stuff.
Today's the day. Absolutely the day. I was just like you though, and that's kind of the stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
You broke it.
I was in the front row. I was trying to get you.
Got so tough.
It's not the kind of tree it is. But the kind of tree it is. Your seat shirts like that now.
The movies, what the hell was it called? Just those of the plane going off the island. And you know, you ever seen the real talking about?
Losing an island.
Creating a number of movies out of this. This was. I just got cheated when you see it.
Yeah.
Not yet.
It's bad news when you can't finish it. You gotta do it around the movie up easy, but 8 or 10 years of a TV show is really hard to finish.
Yeah.
They're usually not as good.
To me, if you're leaving it to my imagination, then just leave the whole show to my imagination. I don't need to see the show. Ah, God.
No activity yet. Tag's gonna stop rolling, delete, save space on the phone.
I learned from the master, you're always rolling, always.
Feels like I talk too much. We're in mid-season form here.
All right. Before we get started, just a quick shout out to this being 9/11, the 23rd year, to the victims of 9/11 and the first responders for sure. So our hats go off to those that sacrifice so we can do what we do here. The Bengals, we look forward to the challenge of playing the Bengals. They're a heck of a football team. And, we know we've got to have a good week of preparation. As far as the injuries go, really, the only person is Hollywood is the only one that's banged up there. So he's continuing to rehab and get himself out, but he won't be out there today. Other than that, time's yours.
Is there any indication, Coach, that he would not play Sunday, or is it still too early to determine?
Yeah, not necessarily. Yeah. I wouldn't say that.
As you look at the Bengals, they had a rough start. There's some numbers out there that exactly they just don't do well early in the year. Put your finger on any reason why that would be. I know you guys generally play them later in the year.
Yeah, listen, they're a good football team. I mean, they're very well coached. I mean, Zach does a great job. They do a great job on the defensive side and special teams. So right now they're just trying to get their guys back together that aren't able to play. But we know they're going to come in here and be ready to go. I don't know what's going on in the past or anything else, but I know every time we play each other, it's a heck of a football game.
Andy, you talk frequently about that, about getting the other team's best shots and stuff. And in what ways do you notice that materialize during the game?
Yeah, execution is the biggest one. That's normally what you get, and good aggressive play. I tell you guys that tempos are different when you take each level in the playoffs. It's kind of a crazy deal. When teams like this play each other, it's a different tempo, for whatever reason. I mean, I don't know why, but that's how it goes.
Coach, you guys have the contract done with Noah. Right now, what does he mean for both your president and in the future?
He's a good football player, and he does a lot for us. He's one of those guys that doesn't get a whole lot of credit for all that he does, but big-time special teams player, great tight end. We do a bunch of double tight stuff, plus he's able to go in and spot Kels. And he comes out of games with quite a few snaps because of the special teams. He's a four-phase guy there, can do anything Dave needs him to do there, and is willing. And he loves being here. So, and a great guy on top of all that.
Andy, stood out about Rashee Rice. You rewatched this game?
Yeah, he was more comfortable than he was last year, which makes sense. Just having had the reps and the experience. But the one thing that he does well is he catches it and he gets himself upfield. And he's a good, consistent catcher, works himself upfield, is tough, plays physical. Same time, he's a willing blocker. Get in there and mix it up there. So he's really developing his whole game in all areas. And he'll keep growing, but it's way smaller margin than he had to grow from beginning of last year.
Last week, talking to Samaje, it seemed like he was a little wide-eyed, getting here so fast. And you get the sense that comfort might be a little bit better this week.
Yeah, listen, he did a nice job for us, so I don't want to take anything away from him. He jumped in and had everything down and was able to play a few snaps for us. I mean, he's going to be familiar with half of the guys that are on this team, so he knows the routine there. So and a lot of the players.
Coach, week one passing offense around the league was kind of a low standard for this current era, and you kind of had a unique perspective to be able to sit back and watch it this week. Is there anything you can kind of put your finger on why some teams in the passing game just seem to struggle in week one?
Yeah, it takes time for that to develop. I think that part of the game, a lot of variables will go into it just with execution, as opposed to handing the ball off to somebody. So between the timing and knowing your receivers and then all these secondaries that the defenses throw at you. So it takes a little bit of time. The time's been reduced in areas. So, and then, anyways, that's what I see.
Coach, with the kind of game that Xavier had this early in his season last week, what can I do for him, going on in the rest of the season?
Yeah, he did a nice job for us. Again, even with his size, he was willing to get in and mix it up in the run game part of it. But having the success he had, I think, is a positive for a young guy to get going. Are you guaranteed 2 touchdowns every game? Well, that's not necessarily in the contract, but it was great for him to get started that way. He knows that he can play at this level now, and if he had any questions, I didn't sense he had any questions, but if he did, those are answered.
We'll last couple, Nate, and then by go ahead, Nate.
And you mentioned a couple times before that even though they're different players, it's a similar injury for Hollywood to what Tyreek experienced in 2019. He practiced that week, obviously, before playing. Just what did you need to see from him? And is there any way of using that experience if Hollywood is, on the field tomorrow or Friday?
Yeah, they all set a little different. So, I mean, it's something that has to move to get back into place. They all set just a little different and heal different, from what I understand. I'm not a physician by any means. So they're all just a bit different. I mean, you're talking just centimeters of it being off can be a problem. So you want to make sure those things are healed in and that they're actually in the right spot. So, we're having them see different people that are experts at that. There's not. I don't think there's a ton of data on it, especially in our field here, but football. But that's kind of what's going on. But as far as working hard and he feels good, he's he feels like he's in a pretty good spot. So it's not him that he would have been out there the last couple of weeks if he had a choice. Not the best. It wouldn't be the best decision he made, but it's you gotta trust the doctors here.
Right.
Andy, non-football, but just to circle back to where you started, how did you get the news of September 11th? And I just wonder what your strongest recollections of the day were.
Well, I was back there. I mean, I was back in Philly at that time, and so it was a little crazy around that area. I mean, I remember talking to Mike Sherman, who was at Green Bay. He called and he was asking some questions about football, and he hadn't gotten the news out there. So I said, "Hey, you might want to turn the TV on. A little bit of craziness going on in this area here." So, that's how. Yeah, that's how I found out.
Were you able to process it in real time, or I mean,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure anybody could process it. I think everybody just reacted, and it really seemed to be in a positive way. I mean, from the stories that you hear on how people came to the rescue, that's the good of mankind. We see some negative things, and we have a tendency to harp on it, but that right there, man, that was our country pulling together and working together, and we can do some pretty magnificent things when that happens.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Yeah, good.
Thanks, Coach.
Sorry.
It's really weird because when the man is in here, it's really clear, but then when it's scared, adds some sort of feedback or something. So I was looking at it.
It covers.
All right, guys, fire away.
Patrick, I asked Andy about this, but you guys frequently talk about getting other teams' best shots, particularly these AFC contender type teams. In what ways, when you're on the field, do you notice maybe that energy?
I think you just see a raise in intensity, just because you know that these games are going to matter at the end of the year. Obviously, it's early in the season; everybody's working through stuff. Everybody's trying to get better and better. But you know that this could be a tiebreaker or whatever you want to call it at the end of the year that determines seeding on playoffs. And so, it's definitely a rise in intensity, especially in these games against other contenders.
You get a little more talking, a little edge out there from the defense in these. Is that what you feel?
I wouldn't say usually not early in the season. It's because everybody's trying to figure stuff out with their teams and trying to do stuff and play fast. You get to playoffs, sometimes there's a little bit more talking here and there. But early in the season, you play these guys a lot. So even though there's trash talk maybe in the off season or whatever like that, you have respect for the guy on the other side of the field. And so it's going to be a great game, and I'm excited that we get to play at Arrowhead.
You guys played them a lot. It's almost always late in the year. This is a little bit weird to be playing in week 2.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, usually it's like the NFL saves it for later in the season, knowing it's going to be kind of one of those seeding games. But our schedule is very different this year. We have a lot of great teams early, and obviously we play like every day of the week. So it's a different schedule. It's a great test for us to play 2 of the best teams in the league back to back to start off the season. But it's going to be about how we adjust and respond whenever adversity hits.
Did you get a chance to look back? What allowed Rashid to have the day that he did in the opener?
I think he's gotten better and better. I think throughout training camp, throughout into last year, he's gotten to be a more versatile receiver where he can do a lot of different things. We put him on some read routes. We put him on obviously a lot of slant routes, stuff like that, where he can win one-on-one, and he did that. I think as the season goes on, you're going to see the full arsenal of routes that he can run. I mean, some where he can run deep routes, he can run intermediate routes, he can run those medium routes. I mean, he can do it all. And so just having all those other weapons around him as well, it takes off that focus on him that you kind of saw at some points last year. And I think that's just make our offense so great.
You mentioned the other weapons. Xavier had a good day on Sunday. What can that success do for him going forward?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a spark. You know, it shows that what he can do. Obviously, it showed his speed. It showed how he's able to run routes and find open spaces. But it just kind of gives him that confidence. I think he already had it anyways, but to show that he can do it on Sundays or whatever day of the week that we're playing, and it's just kind of a start for him. I mean, we want him to keep building. We want to get him more and more involved in the offense. But a great start.
When you look at the angle, it looks like Noah Gray is going to be around for a little while now. What have you seen? What do you feel like he brings?
Yeah, I mean, just a smart player, extremely smart player that does a lot of physical stuff that we need in this offense. He's able to get himself open. He makes the catches whenever he's asked to do it. But a guy that can just do it all. And you need those guys in order to win football games. And he's one of those guys that he can come in for Travis in spots. And I have full confidence that he can go out there and make plays happen as well. And so he's learned a ton behind Trav. And you can see him getting better and better each and every year. And I was happy for him because he's one of those guys that does it the right way and deserves the contract that he got.
Patrick, this is away from football, but former President Trump referenced you and your family again today on Fox News in relation to his campaign. I just wonder what your reaction is to seeing that.
Yeah, I think I've always said I don't want my place and my platform to be used to endorse a candidate or do whatever. Either way, I think my place is to inform people to get registered to vote. It's to inform people to do their own research and then make their best decision for them and their family. And so I think that's every time I'm on this stage and I get asked these questions, I'm going to refer back to that because I think that's what makes America so great.
I think it was important, though. I don't know if important is the right word, but when you were at the U.S. Open this past weekend and you guys were there with Taylor and Travis, I mean, is that an important image to show that, you know, people who may have different philosophies can?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always, even dating back, I think if you've seen my history, I've grown up with people from every aspect of life and every background. And I think the best thing about a football locker room and kind of how I've grown up in baseball locker rooms, everything about that is people can come together and achieve something and achieve a common goal. And I think if we can, I mean, we talked about it a while back, but I think if we can do that as a nation, I think we can get the best out of each other. And so I think that's something that I do every single day. And whenever I'm hanging out with whoever, I'm not thinking about their political views or anything like that. I'm thinking about the people and how they treat other people. And I was with a lot of great people this weekend.
Have you ever thought specifically about the idea of President Trump bringing up Brittany's name? Does that affect you one way or another?
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's about me and my family and how we treat other people. And I think you see is that Brittany does a lot in the community. I do a lot of in the community to help bring people up and give people other opportunities to use their voice. And so it's in the political times, people are going to use stuff here and there, but I can't let that affect how I go about my business every single day and live my life and try to live it to the best of my ability.
And another viral aspect, way less important, obviously, but what's your reaction to Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola?
Yeah.
Sort of mimicking every single aspect of your preparation and almost even the way he throws.
Yeah, it's cool. Honestly, I was that guy. I grew up watching players. I remember when I would grow up, I loved Alex Rodriguez, played shortstop, and would try to make plays just like him and do stuff like that. And it helped me become the athlete that I am. And so I've it's just telling me I'm getting a little old. I think that's the biggest thing is that you have these guys that are coming up and doing some of the sidearm stuff and everything like that. But I know Dylan. I train with him in the off seasons. Great kid, a great football player, and I think he's gonna make his own stamp on the game. And I think you've seen that early in his career.
Has he acknowledged that some of the stuff he's doing is mimicking you? Because it seems like publicly he's been hesitant to say that.
Yeah, I don't know if whenever you come in as a freshman, you want to be on Twitter and be the part of the team. I think he wants it to be about his team, and I think that's the right way to play the quarterback position. Is that it's not about you. It's about going out there and having success as a team, and they've done that so far this year. So even though I think he just kind of wants to push this out and play football and go out there and win football games, I think that's the right way to play the position.
Patrick, have you had any contact with Tyreek since what happened the other day? And do you have any particular thoughts about that?
No, I haven't had any contact with him, but obviously an unfortunate situation. And you're glad that people are bringing light to it and there's an investigation being done to make sure everything was done the right way. But until that investigation's done, I won't have any comment on it.
Chief Patrick, you spent a lot of time in the Super Bowl these past few years. It's in New Orleans this year. Kendrick Lamar was announced as the halftime performer. Any thoughts on whether it should have been him or Wayne or?
Two guys that I've always loved to listen to their music. I grew up on Lil Wayne, and then obviously Kendrick has been an icon for a long time. And so I don't think you could have made a wrong decision. I think both those guys are great. And I'm hopefully in the game. I won't get to hear either one of them or whatever it is, but I'm excited for Kendrick to have that platform and show the artist that he is, and show the world how hip hop has really made a movement within our culture.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Patrick.
We'll have Xavier come to us.
Right up.
Finale. That's hard. Yeah. And the Bengals.
By the way.
Lil Wayne. Dominic Reynolds.
All right, guys. Go
What's
for
his
Xavier.
last few days been like? You got to make your debut, score a couple of touchdowns, a little weekend off, right? What's it been like to be Xavier Worthy?
No, man, it's been cool just to have that, do what I did on Thursday. But I have like this 24-hour rule. You do it, you live it out, and then you forget about it. It's on to the next. So I'm on to the next.
Xavier, within the 24-hour rule, how many texts and messages and people reaching out to you based on the game?
Couldn't even tell you.
But what stands out to you on the film for yourself other than the 2 touchdowns? Like, what are the things that you're pinpointing?
I feel like a lot of things that I kind of focused on was understanding the defense, and I feel like I did that. So I just want to carry that over to this week and every other week, just understand the defenses, knowing what they're going to do before and preaching that.
Could you sense that Baltimore was really trying to take away some of the deeper routes that you were attempting to run over the course of the game?
Yeah, they ran a lot of cloud to kind of take away the deep shots, but that opened up everything underneath. So that was a good thing.
Xavier, Rashid was talking about after the game how when you guys were running those bunch formations that they were saying, hey, watch out. The Ravens were saying, watch out for number 1 here. He can run.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that? And what's your reaction to that?
I'd be so locked in, I can't even hear nothing. If it's not Pat talking, I'll hear it.
Speaking of reading the defense, what did you see from Rashid? You're watching the film in his game.
Right. Like I said, with me taking the top off, that opens up everything underneath for him and Trav. So he took advantage of every opportunity he got.
As you look back at the game and just kind of gauge your performance and understanding, how would you say your playbook understanding was? Like how many times were you a little confused, right? Things like that, as far as just the entire comprehensive game goes.
Right. I feel like the offseason with the injury kind of helped me in a way just to understand the playbook a little more, the nits of it. So I feel like coming into the game, I feel like I already had the playbook a long time ago. So I feel like I was already out there understanding, knowing the defense. So that was really the main thing from me.
The Chiefs and Bengals have played a lot, playoff games and stuff like that. You're new to it. How long does it take you to kind of get into a rivalry?
Oh man, I don't know nothing about a rivalry, but I mean, shoot, it's football at the end of the day. Everybody, it's competition. It's friendly rivalry at the end of the day. Everybody wants to do what they do, so it's gonna be a fun one.
You're a guy that watches other wide receivers and maybe Jamar Chase being one of them. And what do you think about him?
No man, Jamar Chase is an excellent receiver. Just watching him at LSU with Justin Jefferson, they obviously made a lot of plays, and him coming in his rookie year, he made a lot of plays. So it's big ups to Jamar.
You guys spend a lot of time in the wide receiver room together. I know Hollywood's working his way back. How are his spirits right now, just as he's going through this process of trying to return?
Man, Hollywood, he's doing good in his recovery. But he's also like a guy, hurt or not, he's gonna look out for you. He's gonna make sure you're all right at the game. He's looking out for guys. Here, you need water, you need the gun. So it's just good just to have a vet like that. Just look out for the guys.
Xavier, what did it mean to you for Patrick to make sure you got your first touchdown football? What do you plan to do?
Yeah, Pat. I seen Pat do it before, so I knew Pat was gonna get it for me. But man, it's amazing just to be able to have that. Just cherish it. I'll probably give it to my mom so she can put it up.
Xavier, you seem like a confident guy. Does the game that you had, the success you had in game one, does that give you confirmation that you're able to play this well?
I feel like in a way it does, but I feel like just me as a person. I feel like once I have a good game, it happened. It's on to the next. And the next game could be bad, so you never know. Just be confident. Just be humble at the end of the day.
Couple more.
We asked after the game, it's pretty fresh, the reverse where you scored. Mm-hmm. When you guys went back and watched the film study of that, it looked like it was blocked about perfectly. I mean, what was it like going back and watching that in the room with the guys?
Yeah, like I said after the game, all I seen was nothing but red. Everybody was pushing everybody out, and I just had an easy way to the end zone.
Last one, anyone? Great.
Did you actually get touched on it? It looked like you maybe weren't touched at all.
Yeah, I don't think I was touched.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
Hold on.